There we go.
Are you laughing at?
No, I'm laughing at the camera's rolling.
Oh, it's messing.
Yes, you can't keep your hands off the camera.
Look how loose this is. This thing's tight.
Oh, yeah.
Don't mess.
I was just testing.
All right, guys, we left off here. We left off here the last time, 2 days ago, before we did the lab. And the last act, you were basically supposed to set up the Punnett square. You see here. I have the parents' genotypes at the top. One parent's on the left, one parent's on the right. You should look at that genotype and say, oh, okay, we're talking about 2 different traits. Okay. How do you know that? Well, you see 4 letters there for each parent. Let's take the parent on the left. Big R, big Y, little y. Every trait is represented by 2 alleles. So that's why there's 2 traits, because if every trait has 2 alleles and there's 4 letters, 4 alleles, then you have 2 traits. Your job when you make a Punnett square, the whole point of the Punnett square, is to figure out what kind of offspring these 2 parents can produce. The hardest part about doing this is listing all the possible gametes, or sex cells, that these parents can make. Keep them separate. The parent on the left, maybe put along the top. The parent on the right, put down by the side. Possible gametes there, possible gametes here. And you guys should be able to list all the possible gametes here. Here are the rules. Every gamete is only going to have 2 letters. Remember, when gametes are made, they're only able to have 1 allele for each trait. So either one of these R's and one of these Y's are going to go together. So you should have an R and a Y of some kind in each of these spaces. And I believe I got you started by saying, there you go. There's one option that you could, there's one possible gamete that can be made by this parent on the left. Big R, big Y. However, that big R can also hook up with the big Y, or the little y. Little r can go with the big Y, or the little r can go with the little y. All I did was make all the possible gametes that this individual on the left can make. Every gamete is only going to have 1 allele for each of those traits. This is easy because both parents are the same, so I know that the other parent is going to have gametes that look the exact same as the other parent. That is the hard part about setting up a Punnett square. All right, now is the easy part. Filling in the boxes. Somebody tell me, how many letters will be inside each box? 4. Do it. Go ahead and fill in the boxes. It'll take a while. Your head will spin with letters, but all you're doing is combining the gamete from one parent with the gamete from the other parent, wherever they hook up in the middle, the empty box. So for this genotype and this genotype, that's what I get. So do that for all the boxes. I don't think we got this far yet. Go slow if you have to. Don't rush. Make sure you know what you're doing. Oops.
Would you like a pen or a point?
You what?
Would you like a pen or a point or something?
Oh, don't do that now. You're working on this now.
I have that done from last week.
Okay. Did we already do this?
Yeah.
Okay, well then answer this. Figure out did I have you guys figure out? Oh, maybe I did this already then. I guess I didn't for the other. Once you have it all filled out, here, this is what you can work on. Let's say the capital R stands for round, the little r stands for wrinkled. I think this is even what we had. Did we do this yet? The Y, capital Y, stands for yellow, and the lowercase y stands for green. Okay, tell me, how many boxes are going to produce offspring that are round and yellow? Did we do this yet? Okay. Then tell me how many boxes are going to have offspring that are round and green. Then tell me how many offspring are going to be wrinkled and yellow, and then how many offspring are going to be wrinkled and green.
Wait a minute. So as long as there's a capital R and a capital Y, it's going to be round and yellow, right?
Yep.
Even though, like, okay.
Just, yep. I know it, yep. All right, I'm going to finish my Punnett square while you guys work on that then.
For some reason I wrote a B in this one.
Let me give you some hints to make your life easier because your head can start spinning. All right, Punnett square complete. Round and yellow. Okay, Mrs. Hatcher wants me to know how many of these boxes are going to contain offspring that are round and yellow. Well, round and yellow are the two dominant traits. So in order for an offspring to be round and yellow, it's got to have at least one capital letter of each. At least one. What I like to do when I'm doing this is put a little tiny check mark in the bottom of the box if it applies. Okay, so round and yellow. I'm going to put a little check mark next to in all the boxes that are round and yellow. Box number 1. Yep, that individual's round and yellow. Yep, this box is 2. Even though there's a lowercase y there, this individual is going to be yellow because it's dominant. Yep, round and yellow. Yep, round and yellow. Yep, round and yellow. Whoa.
So,
Definitely not round and yellow,
to be
this
round,
box.
to be round and green, I have to have two lowercase y's.
Yes.
Okay.
So to be round and green, you got to have 2 lowercase y's. This one's round and green. I'm going to skip it for now. All I'm looking for is round and yellow. This one's going to be round and yellow. Nope. This one's going to be round and yellow. This one's going to be round and yellow. Nope. Nope. This will be round and yellow, and I believe that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Bam. 9 of those boxes have offspring that are round and yellow. Round and green. Let's put a little cross like that for everyone that every individual that is round and green.
I had 12 round and yellow.
You should.
Well, the first box is
All the top boxes are.
okay.
In the second row, only the first and if you set it up first and third.
Oh.
In the
Oh,
third.
okay.
Yep, check it. Make sure. Is everybody with me?
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, okay.
You got 9?
Yeah.
Okay. Make sure you get 9. You should only have 9. Round and green. In order to be round, they have to have at least one capital R, but in order for an individual to be green, it's got to have 2 lowercase y's. 1, 2, 3.
2 or
It's got to have 2 lowercase y's in order to be green, because it's a recessive trait. All right, wrinkled yellow, let's represent that by a circle. Okay, in order to be wrinkled, you have to have 2 lowercase r's. But yellow's dominant. It has to have 2 lowercase r's and at least 1 capital Y. Excuse me. There we go.
1.
There we go.
Oh, I see 2.
There's actually
3.
3.
I see 4. Oh, never mind. 3.
Yep, make sure you guys count up 3.
What does this one have to have?
This one's wrinkled yellow. It's got to have 2 lowercase r's and at least 1 uppercase Y.
No, these ones have to be both lowercase.
Okay, so yeah, wrinkled green. Those are 2 recessive traits. In order to have both recessive traits, everything's got to be lowercase.
There's only 1 box.
And there's only 1. I'll represent that by a star. 1. That's the kind of stuff I'll expect you guys to do. Given a genotype of mom and dad, setting up a Punnett square, figuring out the phenotype of what the offspring will be. Some people like this activity. Other people find it too time consuming and they don't like it. But I think it's easy once you learn how to do it. Show of hands. How many people understand this? Understand how I got the letters, understand good. That's really important. This when you kind of talk about two traits, it gets a little tough. One trait is a lot easier. Good. All right, well then I can move along. We're gonna move along.
Yay.
Yes, all right.
Make someone step on your slide.
Somebody stepped on your slide.
Is that you?
That is kind of weird looking. No, it's not
It
me.
might be the one I found on the floor.
Oh.
Oh, Jerry knocked that on the floor and walked right
I
past
was
it.
gonna say it looks like little kid footprint, like tennis shoe footprint.
Jerry, you
Zane shoes.
walked right past it, Jerry.
Investigate that.
Jerry knocked it on the floor. Jerry knocked on the floor and let it go.
These are kind of dirty. I think I need to. That's all right.
It's not mine.
I could do a forensic analysis of whoever's shoe.
Look on Zane.
Look at the bottom of it.
Zane's got
Give me your feet.
Zane.
Ow, you're killing me.
You said feet.
Ow. All right, guys.
No, they don't.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. Look at them.
Oh, they're his.
Alright, never mind. Oh well, I didn't knock it on the floor, Jerry.
All right, actually, this is kind of interesting. We've been doing Punnett squares, and it's great. A Punnett square is great for trying to predict what you think your offspring is going to look like, what their genotype is, what their phenotype is going to be. Punnett squares are great. However, some traits don't follow the rules of the Punnett square. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rule. Okay, so you couldn't necessarily do a Punnett square. You can, but you can't. It doesn't follow the same rules. And here are some reasons why. There is something called incomplete dominance. Okay, and don't get thrown off by the fancy word. It actually means something very simple. There's a species of flower that comes in a red form and that comes in a white form. Red's dominant. I'll even represent that. This red flower is dominant. I'll even, call it big R, because it is dominant. The white flower is recessive, so I'm going to try to represent that by two little W's. Okay, that's nothing unusual so far. However, a funny thing happens when you cross a red flower with a white flower, and they're both homozygous here.
Purple.
Pink.
Oh, shoot. Close enough.
This is what happens when you take a red flower and you cross it with a white flower. I'll even do the Punnett square off here to the side, because the Punnett square still works, but the way you interpret it is different. Okay, so it's a simple one trait cross. I set it up over here. I took, oh wait a minute, sorry, bad me. Sorry, I set up the Punnett square wrong, bad.
I caught it.
Yeah, thank you. Bad. If you caught that,
I
yay.
really did.
Okay, I did. I took one parent. Remember, you got to split up the alleles. That's why there's one letter above each box. I took the other parent, split up the alleles. That's why there's one. But when you do the Punnett square, you will notice every one of the offspring in the F1 generation, they're going to have the genotype RW, just like you see in the Punnett square. Every one of them, all four boxes, RW. You would think, under the normal rules of dominance, that it would be red, but it's not. This particular species of flower is pink. This is what happens. That's why it's an exception to the rule. Red and white make pink. Now here's the funny thing. If you wanted to figure out what the F2 generation is going to look like, in other words, if I took this flower and I crossed it with another one that looks like it, this is kind of what I should have done. Now the Punnett square that you would set up looks like this. R, W, R, W. All I'm doing is taking that F1 generation, making one a mom and one a dad, and if I did that Punnett square, you would see this. So let me ask you. The red and white came back. What percentage of the offspring will be red? 25%. What percentage of the offspring will be white?
25.
25%. What percentage will be pink?
50.
50%. So you get a situation where you have basically a 1 to 2 to 1 ratio, a 1 to 2 to 1 phenotypic ratio
Oh, we're supposed to be writing this down.
of red to pink to white.
Are you? I'm not.
Here's my point. It doesn't follow the same rules we've been talking about so far. We have not talked about crossing two parents and coming up with a completely different phenotype. That's what incomplete dominance is. You cross two parents and you get a completely different phenotype, unlike the parents. Red and white, pink. I always think of the red and white yields a pink flower for the example of incomplete dominance. Okay, number 2. Something called codominance. Okay, some people confuse this with incomplete dominance, but it's different. Am I going too fast? Okay, if you're on a sporting team, there's a chance that you're a captain, maybe even a co-captain. Okay, you know, and if you're a co-captain of a sports team, basically you and your captain friend rule together. You have equal power, like co-captains. That's what I think about when I think of codominance. Here's what happens in codominance. I'm going to use chickens as an example. You guys raise chickens. There is actually a situation where you can have a white chicken and you cross it with a black chicken.
And brown chicken.
No, if you did that, it would be incomplete dominance. You'd be making a new phenotype.
I knew that.
But you can get a speckled white and black chicken.
Oh, I thought you were going to say gray.
I can't help my chair squeaking.
Sit it on the
You
legs
can
then.
be still.
I can't be still.
Okay, this is codominance. You have a white chicken and a black chicken, and they'll make a speckled white and black chicken. Basically, what that means, well, let's
That's not me.
No, I don't want to get too much detail than this. You have, well,
We're not advanced.
What makes it different from the incomplete?
let me tell you. Color, white. I have 2 alleles for white. Colored, black. If you do that Punnett square, every one of your chickens will have the following phenotype. If you want to kind of put like alleles with it. This is different from incomplete dominance because you're not necessarily making a new color. You're taking the same 2 colors that already exist and just kind of sprinkling them together. If you would have taken a white chicken and a black chicken and made a gray chicken, then it would have been incomplete dominance. But the fact that you are actually having a speckled white and black chicken, you're not making a new color, it's a different form of inheritance. It's called codominance. So, kind of an example there. Okay, this is the fun one. Blood. Number 3.
No, you're not.
Multiple alleles, it sounds fancy. Up to this point, we've been talking about a trait being controlled by 2 alleles, and those 2 alleles are either capital or lowercase. In other words, there's only 2 different possible alleles. Like we would say big T, little t. It can only be, for that trait for tall, it could either be a big T or little t. However, there are certain situations where you have more than 2 alleles as an option. Let me give you an example. I'm writing down 3 alleles. And okay, they look weird.
Yeah.
There are 3, I can't even use the capital letter, lowercase letter anymore entirely. You can tell I made it look a little more complex. There's a lot going on here. When it comes to blood type, I'll actually write blood type because every one of you guys has a certain blood type here in this room. I don't know if you guys know your blood type, but you should figure it out. It's actually kind of interesting. Your blood type depends on which 2 alleles you're going to get from mom, one from dad. However, there's more than 2 alleles that exist out there in the world. there's actually 3 different alleles in this case. You're only going to get 2, but whatever 2 you get is what you're going to be, but there's 3 that are actually in existence. Okay, bear with me. Everybody in this room is one of these 4 blood types. You're either type A, you're either type B, you're either type AB, or you're either type O. I know that I'm type A.
Me too.
Okay. What that means, by the way, before we get to talking about alleles, just kind of from a practical point, if you have type A blood, I'm drawing a red blood cell, RBC, red blood cell. What that means if you have type A blood is you have a special sugar on the surface of your red blood cells that is basically only found in type A people. And I'm going to represent that by triangles. So people with type A blood have a certain sugar on the surface of their red blood cells that's very specific for people with type A. Now, people with type B blood, they also have a different sugar, which I'm going to represent by a circle. In other words, the sugar's a little different. It's still on the surface of your red blood cells, RBC.
RBCs are red blood cells.
These are red blood cells. Every circle I'm drawing is a red blood cell. That's what RBC stands for. So in my blood, if you would go into my blood and you would take out a red blood cell, I would actually have I wouldn't have triangles on the surface. That's just like a model, but I would have a certain carbohydrate, a certain sugar on them that only people with type A blood have. Very unique. People with type B blood would have a different sugar. People with type AB blood actually have both. They're special. Yeah, they're special. Okay. People with type O blood, and these are red blood cells, by the way, just for the record, and people with type O blood, their red blood cells are naked, nothing. They don't have any of these special sugars, special carbohydrates. Okay, I have a point. This is leading up to why you can only give blood to certain people and vice versa, but I'll get there in a minute. Look, think of it this way. I have type A blood. My body is used to having those triangles, those sugars. They're used to it. My body's used to it. If my body was exposed to something other than those triangles, the circles, my body's not going to like it, and it's going to fight back. It's going to defend itself. So, having type A blood, my body is not. My body would see those circles as foreign substances. I don't want them. And what are they going to do? The antibodies in my body are going to fight back at it and basically crush those cells and lyse them and break them up. It's going to be a mess. Ugh, blood clots. It's a mess. People have some side effects from that. Okay, well, people with type AB blood, let's talk about that. Let's say, Zane, let's say you have type AB blood, but you don't. You have type A, don't you? You said, oh, you don't know. Okay, I thought you said you did. Okay. Let's say Zane has type AB blood. Okay, now if you needed a blood transfusion because you were low on blood, and I was around, I could donate my blood to you because look at your red blood cells. They have both triangles and circles. So when I give you my red blood cells, you're already used to the triangles. They're not going to be considered foreign. They're not going to be considered new. You can receive blood from me.
Maybe.
All right. Let's talk about O here for a minute. Naked O. Naked O.
Exception.
People with type O blood are considered to be universal donors, and what that means is they are able to donate their blood to anyone, including other O's. But that's why, because they're naked. Their red blood cells don't have any of these sugars on them, so there's nothing that these other individuals of this blood type are going to see as foreign. They're naked cells. They're basically, they could give their blood to anybody, and there's nothing on their surface that's going to be recognized as bad. However, who wants to be type O? Courtney's going to be type O. Okay? Courtney's going to be type O. If Courtney is type O blood, okay, this means that, Courtney, if you ever needed a blood transfusion, you got to be real picky about what blood you get. Zane, would not be a good fit. Because look at Zane's blood here.
I don't like your blood anyway.
Zane's red blood cells have both these two sugars that your body are not used to. You don't have them inside of you naturally. If Zane would donate blood to you, you'd have problems. Your body would fight back. When your body fights back, by the way, that basically means it undergoes an immune response and you get weak, you get dizzy. Your body's basically at warfare trying to take out these cells. It's trying to kill them. And when it kills them, it lyses them. It's a goopy mess. It clots. Those clots can get in the way. Zane, stop it. And that's bad. However, people with type AB blood can actually get blood from anyone.
Because I'm boss.
Okay, so if Zane ever needed a transfusion, he can actually receive blood from any of, not just me, any of these groups, because his body is already used to the triangles, it's already used to the circles, it's already used to those carbohydrates. He can receive blood from anyone.
So you probably won't have that blood. Not really.
You know, it's weird. It's
Well, I have. So
the most common blood type out there, believe it or not, is O. O positive or something like that, I think. I think A positive is the second most common. But I'll be honest, it just depends on the situation. I'll get to that in a minute. Let's talk back to the alleles. Now that you understand what having a certain blood type means and who can give to who, I want to go back to this alleles. In order to get type A blood, you have, again, remember, there's two genes controlling one trait, but there's three options. But in order to get type A blood, you can be one, oops, bad. No, that's not bad. You can be one of two genotypes. Either one of these genotypes are going to result in type A blood. You're either homozygous or heterozygous. I'll get to the little I in a minute. Don't worry about the little I for now. If you are type B blood, you can be either one of these two genotypes, IB or IB little I. Either way, if that's what's written in your genes, you're going to be blood type B. There's only one option for people who are AB. One allele has to be for A, one allele has to be for B. By the way, this is also an example of codominance. We just talked about codominance. Equal, like co-captains on a team, both of them rule together. This is an example of that because A and B, not one is dominant to the other. That's why they're both expressed as capital I's, because both of them are equally as dominant. They coexist together like co-captains on a team. That's why AB blood has both in it. In order to be type O blood, your genotype, your two alleles have to be lowercase I. There's no other way you can be type O. Isn't that weird? This is an example where in order to get O blood, you have to have two recessive alleles, but I just told you it's the most common blood type. That's okay. It is. There's just a lot of little I alleles running around there. Okay. If you understand this, I want to push you here.
Don't push me.
No. This is interesting.
I don't like being pushed.
Let's say mom had a type A blood type. Let's say dad has type B blood type. My question is this. Would they be able to have a baby with type O blood type?
Yes.
Why?
Because it's a universal donor, so if you pass it, you can get a
Wrong.
No. Has nothing to do with being a universal donor at all. Grant.
It has the little eyes.
Yes. Remember how I told you that one option of an A blood type is AI, IA little I. One for type B is IB little I. In order for this to happen, both the parents have to be heterozygous. They have to have, mom absolutely has to have this genotype, dad absolutely has to have this genotype. But if you do the Punnett square, you will realize that there is a chance that baby will receive this little I from mom, this little I from dad, and yes, they will be O. So I'm going to put yes here. Now my next question is this. What is the percent chance that mom and dad?
25.
25%.
Boom.
Does everybody understand how I got that 25% from? You did a Punnett square. You do a Punnett square. Let me set it up. I'll set it up here in the top. Mom, Dad, if you do the Punnett square and fill in the squares, you will see in this bottom right-hand column, you can get a child with II, 25%, 1 out of 4. Yeah, Kirsten.
How's come, like, say both of the parents need like a blood transfusion and they got like more O blood in them, would they pass that trait to their kid or would they pass their own?
Say that question again. I think I know what you're getting at.
Like, if both of the parents needed blood transfusion.
These parents
so,
here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They both got O. What happens if they decided to have a baby after that? Would they pass?
No,
the O?
no. I know what you're saying. Blood. It's funny. Red blood cells only stay active for about 3 days and then they die.
Right
So
here.
how does the blood help them if they die after 3 days?
When people get blood transfusions, it's because usually they don't have enough working blood at the time. When you get a blood transfusion, it's almost like a quick fix. It's a quick fix until your own body can naturally make red blood cells themselves.
So it's actually not to keep the blood in your body, it's just to help get a kick start.
Correct. Correct. It is. That's why if you get in an accident and you lose lots of blood in a car accident or something, you're going to get a transfusion. So because you absolutely need a certain amount of blood in your body in order to move oxygen around, you're going to get a transfusion to help that process, to help your body carry oxygen until your own body can generate more red blood cells of their own kind. Those cells will eventually die. Red blood cells are funny. They don't undergo mitosis. They are not going to make new red blood cells.
Then why is the Red Cross in so much need of blood? It only takes how much does it take? Because it's supposed to get your body kick started, so you wouldn't think it would take that much. But Kid House is always getting calls because every member in his family except for Nick, because he's not old enough, they're always getting calls asking if they want to donate because they're a member there to donate blood and stuff, and they have before.
They're always cold, did you say?
No, they're always
called.
Yeah, it's called.
Oh, they're probably always called. Number one, they probably have given before, and so the Red Cross knows that they're willing to donate. Number two, they might have type O blood, which is like liquid gold to the Red Cross, so they're going to call you and calling you for life as soon as they know that you have type O blood, because O's can give to anybody.
He said.
But I don't know if I'm answering your question.
But he said that what they said was that every day they're going to run out of blood.
Oh, yeah.
Taking it away, so
Yeah.
if you only need it to kick start, why do you need so much to give? Wouldn't it just take a little bit to put in somebody?
You have to have a certain amount of volume of blood in your body all the time. Believe it or not, there's actually quite a lot of people who has red blood cells that are either not working right, so they need a transfusion for the here and now. But I don't think I'm still answering your question. There's just a lot of people who are always needing blood transfusions for a variety of reasons. I don't know if I can really be specific about the reasons.
Yeah, I think that's basically what I have.
Yeah, like I said, mostly if you lose a lot of blood, if the blood cells you have are not functioning properly, those would be the big reasons for blood transfusions. Yep. Good question. Okay, let me do another one. Let's say mom has a blood type AB and dad has a blood type of A. Can they have a child with type O?
No.
No, and be able to tell me why, though.
Because
You gotta be
there's only one
specific.
negative, or one lowercase
A
I.
dominant A and a dominant B.
The reason is, and they can't, it has nothing to do with not seeing the letters. Remember, we didn't see the letters up here, we still got an O. Every parent's going to donate one allele. This mom does not have a little I to give.
And dad has a little I.
Dad has a little I. He might have a little I, but mom doesn't have a little I. So they will never make a baby like this, so no.
Well, never make a baby.
Just going along the same terms, can somebody with AB, a mom with AB, a dad with O, can they make a child? No, for the same reason. Even though dad has type O blood, he has two little eyes, but he's only going to give one of them. He can never give both. Never, ever, ever will he give both. Mom doesn't have a little eye to give.
Jeez, Mom.
So, yep. This is funny. It's funny. I got done saying this morning, and Erin Jewell raised her hand and said, "This is cool." She's like, "I have type O blood." And she's like, "My mom has type A, my dad has type B, I have type O." She's like, "I always wondered kind of why I have type O and they have type A. Well, or one has type A, one has type B. It kind of goes along with this. And I said, well, that's because you know your mom has this genotype, your dad has this genotype. That's the only way that you could have gotten type O blood. Then our next comment was something kind of interesting. She said, wait a minute, does that mean if I need to get a blood transfusion, neither of my parents can help me out? And I said, nope. She cannot receive blood from either of her parents. Isn't that weird? Yeah. She can give to both of her parents, but neither of her parents can give blood to her. Pretty weird. So, all right, guys, this is interesting. I strongly urge each of you guys to donate blood when, like, the blood drive comes around, because it's not that bad.
No, what happens if you faint?
I've done that before.
I do. I can't stop.
Yeah, I faint, like, yeah.
I know, I'm doing it
They
so once
give
I
you some
can.
cookies and juice.
Get out of wrestling.
You're
I'm doing whatever I
fine.
can.
Go down there and just
Yeah, practice for the day. Oh, wow.
Anyway, I urge you to, because what they'll do is they'll prick your finger. The hardest part about getting blood is having them prick your finger, because they have to figure out your blood type. That's the first thing. And then once they do that, they actually take the blood with the needle, and it doesn't hurt. But about a week or two after you donate blood, they'll send a card in the mail telling you what your blood type is. And I think that's good information to know. It's a nice card to put in your wallet or your purse if you ever needed
I
it.
want that in my wall.
What'd you say, Derek? You gotta be 16. Yeah, that's the only bad thing. You gotta be 16. And you gotta be like a certain weight. So if you're like,
sister couldn't do it last year because she was underweight.
yeah, that makes sense. If you're too tiny, they won't.
Oh
let you do it.
no! Looks like I'm about to balk
There's
up.
actually all these other reasons. If you recently took a trip across the sea overseas, they won't take you
Oh, I don't
for
know.
fear of infectious diseases.
I just don't go.
Or if you don't have enough iron in your blood.
If you don't have enough iron in your blood, thank you. I knew there were some other reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, what happens if you have like herpes? How are they gonna test you like right on the spot?
I don't know what they test. I'll be honest. They take a test of your blood, but I don't know what exactly they test for. Obviously, they test for HIV.
I think they test all blood.
Or
Don't
whatever it is.
They do.
test it all after they get it.
They-
think.
Yeah. That might be like a quick test, but then they might take it, and I'm not sure what detail. I don't even know if they test for that, or if they can test for that in blood. I honestly don't
They
know.
have
That's
to,
right.
don't they?
Herpes.
Oh yeah,
Or
that's what
I
I was
meant
talking about.
HIV. I meant HIV, but
Oh, HIV definitely. That is a definite test they do. But I honestly don't know what else they test for.
There.
What-
When do you think that they test you right up front? Because like, what happens if, I don't know, there's a really bad American Red Cross van accident and all of the blood survived, but there was no names or anything on it. They wouldn't know what to donate.
They put numbers on them, their stickers on them, and they test all the blood before they put it out into circulation.
I wouldn't be surprised if they even tested before transfusing it into someone either. It wouldn't surprise me if they tested both initially and then
I think
just prior
it's
to
maybe
use.
weird to have someone
Dirty
else's
needle,
blood.
so.
Yeah, I mean you can spread HIV through dirty needles. I mean, so yeah. No, but I do. I mean, and the good note is very good to donate blood.
That is because I get out of wrestling practice.